Hey everybody, it is Justin Stubleski from the Camera Shop of Muskegon. I want to say hello to everyone and thank you guys all for tuning in. I know that we had a live broadcast scheduled for yesterday, and due to some scheduling conflicts, I apologize for not being able to make that happen. But we are here today to follow up on our latest Facebook photo challenge, which is the Best of Michigan. So without further ado, I always kind of recap on what kind of the premise of the of what we were aiming to accomplish, with just kind of recapping some of the finer points of tips and tricks, and go over some of my personal work and Kirk Montgomery's work, who was our gracious host on WZZM13, and then go over your guys' work. So without further ado, we will get right to it. So I'm going to pop this up right up here on the screen. And first off, you will see that inspiration is kind of the best thing to start every kind of photo project on. A lot of photographers talk about creating tear sheets. Tear sheets are, like looking at magazines and kind of ripping out photos from magazines and kind of putting those in kind of like a binder, where you almost like a catalog that you can look through and kind of gain inspiration of, like, oh, this is what this photographer created, or here's if I'm shooting food photography, you can go through food magazines and kind of pull different pages that people have already created to kind of use that as inspiration. So in the modern day tear sheet, you can go through Google and just kind of Google search what you're looking for, and that's what I always encourage people to do. In this case, search Michigan photography on Google, and you're going to get all kinds of great results from many great photographers throughout the state of Michigan and those who visit Michigan. So that is always your first start. There's always a lot of great photographers around, especially in the local area. We got Joe Gee, Jeremy Church, Mike Dixon, Todd Mertz. No shortage of great photographers in the area. Todd and Brad Reed are some of the, are the Michigan renowned father-son duo. You guys should check those two out. They've been all around the state. Their books are predicated on that whole idea of the beauty of the state of Michigan. So I would encourage you guys to really look into them and use those photographers as inspiration, because, hey, they're already doing it and they're doing it really good. And that will help encourage those of you who want to grow to see what is successful, what successful images look like out there in the public realm. Moving on, this is something I picked up from the Todd and Brad Reed interview that I did, and we have that on our Facebook page. You can see in our recent posts down below that you'll see that we've got that. Brad is saying, hi there, hopefully you guys can all hear me. I didn't check my sound before I started this. I can really quick do that here. Yep, got that. Okay. Just wanted to double check my my mic. Jason Helmer saying, hello there, Justin. Hey, Jason, how you doing? So I'll get right back into it, guys. Sorry for the little distraction. So Todd and Brad Reed, when I did their interview with them a couple weeks back, one of the biggest things I picked up and that I kind of forgot was to tell a story when you're creating your photographs. Todd Reed was in the journalism business for over 30 years, and when he created his imagery, he really wanted to get and extract the heart and the feeling out of the images he was creating. And that has carried over into his personal work that he's now doing with his son at Todd and Brad Reed Photography. And he says you can really feel it when you look through my work. It's not just a beautiful scene, it actually makes you feel something. And so that brought up a really good point that I had forgotten, was to tell a story. So the most important thing about photography is the ability to touch your viewers' hearts and minds. And photography is more than just simply tripping the shutter and creating an image, it's telling a story. So when you're creating your images, make sure to capture the heart and soul of what you're photographing and tell us the story that best captures the essence of Michigan. The third tip and trick, and most important, is lighting. Remember that photography means painting or drawing with light, and that the key to every successful photograph is the quality of light. The best light for creating memorable photography is typically found during the magic hours, which can be early morning, just after dawn, and just before sunset and dusk in the evening. And I would encourage you guys that even though those are kind of the prime times for getting some of the best lights, that any time during the day is a good time to shoot. because different lights will make your styles of photography shine, and it really all breaks down to what you're trying to show your viewer, what light is going to work best. So use that as inspiration and just keep that in the back of your mind. Angles and perspective. Perspective is key in how you present and tell the story of what you're photographing and presenting to your viewer. Perspective is the key in creating creative and interesting photographs. So shooting from eye level can get kind of boring because we all see from this general height standing up. So try something different. Try to present the viewer something new that they've never seen before. Get really down low to the ground. Get really high in the air. There's a reason why drone photography has become very popular, and drone videography has become very popular. It's because we're able to see from, hundreds of feet up that we haven't been able to see from, without being able to rent an airplane out and doing some aerial photography. So it's really been able to change the way that we perceive the world based upon perspective. Jeremy Church is really good about this, about getting the camera really low to the water, because he gets in his kayak and he gets out there. There's another photographer I know who's been able to get out to Mears, Michigan. He's kind of like waded out the shore or had a kayak or something with him, and he's been able to get out there and take some long exposures at night from the shoreline. And that's something that you don't typically get because people aren't wading into the water at night. The other thing to look for is line, shape, and detail. Keep your eyes peeled for horizontal, vertical, diagonal, and curved lines, because lines can lead your viewer into and through your photographs, create and imply movement, and influence your viewer's emotions. Remember the saying, the devil is in the details. If you come across any implied shapes or details, focus on them, playing with composition and filling the frame with those details. These elements will influence how your viewers find their way through the photographs they end up creating. So make sure that you're utilizing that. Abstraction. One of my favorite things to do is abstraction is try illustrating the best of Michigan through abstraction, which is sometimes can be the easiest way. Is just getting closer and closer and closer until the object that you're photographing becomes unrecognizable to some extent or another. Like you're able to look at it and kind of like, hey, I don't know what that quite is. So it creates an air of mystery, but you are able at some point to be able to extrapolate what it is. You can also do some things with abstraction to kind of make it look painterly, like purposely blur the photograph to make it look like it was painted with paintbrushes. Color. Number 7 is color. Along with line, shape, and detail, color plays a role in the human psyche. Draws to your images using contrasting colors, bright colors, or no color at all. The absence of color is black and white photography. And you can check out color theory. That link should be in the WZZM write-up. But if you want to kind of figure out what goes into a good photograph, simply just look up color theory on Google, and you'll find some good information on basic color theory. You're really looking for primary colors and secondary colors, and how analogous colors and complementary colors play into your imagery and creating compelling imagery. Timing. The decisive moment is a concept made popular by the street photographer Henri Cartier-Bresson. The decisive moment refers to capturing an event that is about to happen. It's spontaneous, where the image represents the essence of the event itself. The best way to capture an object in a decisive moment is to first find a good background or backdrop that you want to kind of frame the shot in, and then wait for the subject to enter the frame at the right place and time, and then click the shutter. So a good example would be, Lake Michigan. You've got the pier at Pier Marquette kind of in the right side of the frame, and the most popular thing to do shooting to the northwest is waiting for a boat to come in the channel at night in the evening and get that silhouette, and you're waiting for it to kind of balance its way out. Like there's the boat, there's the lighthouse, or maybe a seagull's flying above, and you want to get it just at the right place, to the left or top right, or right in the center of the photograph above the lighthouse. That would be a good example of the decisive moment. Shutter speed will also play a role in creating successful imagery, because the shutter speed allows you to express the passage of time or motion. So when photographing things in motion, you want to make sure to discern whether you want to make a decision between freezing your frame or with a quick shutter speed or a slower shutter speed to allow motion or blur to come into your photos. You may require a tripod to accomplish this feat, and especially when you're using slower shutter speeds. You can also try a technique called panning, and panning is when you're using a slower shutter speed, but you're following something that's moving from left to right, and because you're kind of moving at the same speed, or you're following along at the same speed, relative speed, to distance, that you're able to blur the background of the object. So a good way would be like a car on a racetrack. If you follow the car just right, and you're using a shutter speed like 1/60th of a second, the car will be in focus, is what you're trying to aim to do, and the background will look like warp speed from Star Trek, because everything's going, it looks like it appears like it's going super fast. So that's something that is a fun technique to try. That is something that I have not mastered, that that I can always try and practice at, but you can try a busy road or street. That was one easy way to do that. Suggested equipment is always to utilize the camera that is with you, shooting with a variety of lenses, wide-angle lenses for landscape, macro for close-up, telephoto for landscape. Just try your hands at all 3 different types of lenses. The size and focal length of your lens will vary depending on your camera system, from Olympus to Sony to Canon and Nikon. And if you're having trouble deciding what to choose, you can always stop in at the camera shop and I can help you with that. Or ask your photo friends. There's a lot of great photo resource pages out there on Facebook where people can help make friendly suggestions. Shooting with a tripod always adds stability to your shots and allows you to control distortion depending on what lenses you're using, allows you to make minute adjustments, and reduces the camera shake versus shooting handheld. And try using a circular polarizing filter, because that can help cut the reflections off of reflective surfaces like a asphalt parking lot, the reflection off the top of the water of Lake Michigan, things of that nature, and it can help kind of darken your sky. So those are the tips and tricks that I would encourage you guys to use to create better work. Karen is saying hello. Hi, Karen. And Brad is saying, you're good, we can hear you. Great. So it's good that all the sound is coming in, so we'll get right to your photos here, and I'm going to share another screen, and let's look at application windows. Of course, bridge is not there, should be here now. There we go. Okay, so we'll start with Kirk's work. Let me find it here. Everything gets alphabetized. And if I missed anyone's work here this week, you guys, I apologize. I went through my emails and made sure to kind of capture everyone who had submitted something, using our email address, Facebook, the photo challenge at camerashopmuskegon.com, and also looking for photo challenge and looking at all the recent contributors. So if I missed your images this week, it's nothing personal. I tried to make sure to go through, fairly deep, even going through the lighthouse, going past 2 different submissions just to make sure I got everyone. So if I missed you, I do apologize. It's not intentional. So we are going to get into the critique of everyone's images. Kirk is here. Hey, Kirk, how you doing? I'm glad you could join us here this evening. Hopefully everything at work is going well. And right away, we're going to start out with Kirk's images here. And he has got a beautiful shot downtown Lansing, just in front of the Capitol veranda, in between these nice buildings. And we talk about leading lines and color, and there's a lot of great colors going on here. It looks to be like early morning when the light is kind of shining, because just the quality of light, it's either kind of like 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. And you've got the nice kind of leading lines of the buildings kind of leading you to the back of the frame, back to the Capitol. We got that nice highlight off from the sun on the right, and that's bouncing off the building on the left. And it's actually kind of creating this nice contrast between a building in light and a building in shadow. And even though the flowers are in shadow here, I really like the colors in contrast to the background. These nice bright greens kind of flow into the background. We've got this nice continuation of blues, the continuity of blues here in the foreground and in the background, and these nice fuchsias, golds, and yellows are kind of bouncing off these colors here. So I just really like this shot. One of my favorite ones that he presented, because we talk about time of day, is this early morning shot. I forgot what river he told me that this was, and you'll probably tell us again. here in the feed. But this was early morning. This is Christmas morning. And I just, like, you can just tell it's Christmas morning. I mean, he really encapsulated the whole wintry feel. You can typically get that from having a bluer hint to your photos. You can make them feel cold with a hint of blue. And this is just natural morning lights kind of kicking off of the sky, atmospheric bounce. And you just got these great leading lines of the river leading us to the background. Nice kind of snow on the trees on the left and right. Those blue shadows kind of bouncing off the limbs. And the one thing I missed, earlier was that there are geese kind of hanging out in the river. And that's like one little detail that I missed out of all this. And it really feels like one of those early, like Monet-style paintings, like almost Impressionism, even though it's very realistic. It just has a lot of the same color palettes from that time period. Those cobalt blues, and I forgot what the other one, that Azure, something like Azure. Just really, really beautiful blues. And he says it's Grand River in Diamonddale, and I knew Kirk would come to my rescue on that one, so thank you, Kirk. I appreciate it. We've got Richard Kefkin saying hello, everyone, and we've got Mike Tieford saying hello, so thank you for joining us, guys. Happy to have you. And Todd Mertz just wanted to add that filters are great for waterfalls in Michigan also. And I would add to that neutral density filters are good for waterfalls because it helps slow down your shutter speed. So if you want to do longer exposures during the day, check out a neutral density filter. Continuing on, we've got this wonderful shot of this morning sun casting on in a cemetery here. And I just really love the detail on the flag. You got the nice, you can see that the focus is here on the flag. You can tell it's early morning because there's still dew on the ground. You would not get dew on the ground in the evening, so we can tell that the shot is taking towards the east. And I think this was during Memorial Day or something, Kirk. You were saying earlier that there was some significance to this, but I really love this shot because it just has that really nice warm feel. Memorial Day in Diamonddale Cemetery, so it's really he captured that feeling as well. You can tell it's either going to be like Labor Day or Veterans Day, but it's Memorial Day, and you've got the flag, and that really is, that's powerful symbolism, and it's just great to have that nice ball of warm lights on that and backlighting that flag. So really good stuff from Kirk. So thank you for contributing, Kirk. We really appreciate it, and all that you've done for us with My West Michigan. I can't thank you enough for that. And I hope that you continue to share as we kind of take this to just our Camera Shop Facebook page. We'll do this every 2 weeks. I haven't picked anything yet, but I will get with you guys on and letting you know how the new Facebook Photo Challenge will continue. If you guys are, of course, interested in continuing that, because I do enjoy looking at your images and challenging you guys to create work, and being able to talk about it really helps with improving yourselves as photographers. So I'll quickly go over some of my work with my favorites from the Best of Michigan. This is a farm out in Coopersville. It's a really nice little park, kind of like a little hidden gem here in West Michigan between Muskegon and Grand Rapids on the back roads. This was just after sunset, so we got really twilight. That's how I'm getting this nice kind of glow on the barn. We've got the atmospheric, little bit of city lights combined with twilight, and it's a longer exposure. You can tell it's a longer exposure because we've got some movement in the trees. You can see kind of the clouds wisping a little bit. I did this in color. Wasn't as successful in color, so I switched it to black and white, and it adds more moodiness to it. So that's what I was talking about with color in your photographs, is that sometimes color can be a distraction. So if you remove that distraction, what you're left with is just kind of the essence of the photograph. And so it can become, sometimes things can become more sinister, they can become more moody, more dramatic. And I think this just adds some really nice dramatic tones. But again, we've got these nice highlights on the building, where it's kind of falling off on the edges, because we're really just trying to focus people towards the barn, not really caring about what's going on the left and right of the frame, because they're just trees. But one of my favorites from the Best of Michigan, and this is from Dead River Falls in Marquette, Michigan, or just outside of Marquette, Michigan. We were shooting all the waterfalls. There's like 5 different tiers. We didn't hike out to the furthest tier. We got up there during fall, got some great color. It was kind of patchy, a little bit of an overcast day, but we got lucky with some of the hit or miss shots. And what I really like about this shot is the triangle. I always talk about looking for shapes in photographs, and this creates a frame within a frame. So there's this nice triangular shape right here. We got another triangle in the foreground. And Todd and Brad Reed always talk about how triangles are in photographs and the power of triangles. And looking for the triangles in photographs can really help kind of make your image, just changes the feel of your image. And the frame within a frame is really looking at the center of this image right here. Is if we back out, we're looking at what's happening inside the frame here, kind of isolating that portion in the middle. So your eyes are kind of drawn to that because we're kind of boxing it in with the limb going, the whole tree going across the river, bookended with the rocks right here. And then you got that nice flow of the river kind of leading us into that spot and out to the back. Even though we've got this chunk up here, that's kind of an afterthought after kind of looking through the front to the back of the image. One of my favorite spots is Press Park in Pere Marquette, Michigan. I'm utilizing leading lines. This is early morning light, so you got this nice side lighting going on from that early morning sun coming in, really blowing those trees up, just a lot of that nice side light glow. I had two shots. There was one with a shadow on the park bench, one with shadow not on the park bench. This is the one without the shadow on the park bench, and it helps to kind of highlight, like, hey, we're highlighting the bench with that light. And if you look in the foreground, we've got this dirt path from the cars, and that is a nice leading line leading us from the foreground to the background, in and through the image. This is kind of the idea of abstraction. I talked about doing abstracts where you zoom in on the water, and this is something that I kind of co-opted from Todd and Brad Reed. They're really good at doing the ripples of the water with abstracting it and just really looking for the colors that are bouncing off the trees or the surrounding area. And this was my take on it in Grand Haven a couple years ago during a sunset, and really just looking for that extreme with all the colors, where you get those really nice like raspberry reds and those deep purples and that nice warmth orange, yellows, and gold of the sun. And because the water is water, we got these nice kind of almost aluminum blues kind of popping up in between the ripples. And that's something that I really like about that photograph. A nice night shot of Mears, Michigan. Poppy fields, kind of looking from big objects to kind of smaller objects. This is just south of. This is in Fenville, near a cemetery. Where as a memorial to some of the loved ones there. They plant a poppy field every single year, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Beautiful memorial. No better way to memorialize someone than with the beauty of nature. And I'm really trying to focus on using the rule of thirds and depth of field, so I'm blurring out the background because I don't want the poppies in the background to be distracting. But it's nice to get kind of like these little paint daubs of color. And you can see my plane of focus is right here in the foreground. So the bottom third is kind of in focus because we've got that plane of focus, and then just behind that top 2/3 is blurred out of focus. And that's just something that use your depth of field to your advantage in creating your images. I've got R.M. Christensen saying, yes, keep challenging, keep going. Great photo of the water and reflections, says Bill. Appreciate it, guys. And you know what, Ryan, I really do want to keep this going. It is a lot of fun. It's really fun to see what you guys are creating. Always enjoy seeing your work personally because you're creating great stuff, and we'll get to yours here shortly. So one that I recently created was at one of my favorite spots, Frankfort, Michigan. This is Point Betsy Light, or Point Betsy Lighthouse. We went up there just recently. During the comet was up there. I wasn't really happy with my comet shots. It was cool to capture it, and it's like one of the once in a lifetime kind of experiences. I'm a fan of the Milky Way. I really just, that's my bread and butter. I love going out and creating night photography. And I've seen a lot of the Milky Way kind of cutting through things, and I just kind of aimed up, got the Milky Way kind of draped across the center of the top of the photograph, using this as an implied line from left to right. That's taking up 1/3 at the top, separating the bottom 2/3 of my interest, which is my subject, which is Point Betsy Lighthouse. And just a really fun shot. I don't know if it's 100% my favorite, but it's something that I've created recently, and I really like it. Another waterfall shot near, this is Rini Falls in the UP, Marquette, Michigan, and I'm using those leading lines, the logs coming in are kind of leading you into the waterfall, and then we've got that kind of the stream or the river kind of leading us back into the background, but nice wispy water. I'm doing that with a long exposure. Believe it or not, I did this handheld with my Olympus camera at about 2 seconds. So I did this without a tripod, just kind of hovering and floating around, trying to get just the right shot that I wanted. And that's kind of the power of the Olympus cameras. I can shoot without a tripod to conduct and create those longer exposures. Another great shot. This is going to be in the same area, Marquette, Michigan. Just really beautiful. Nice leading lines of the river, but it's really just more about the color. The composition is like that back third. In the middle of that back third is that bridge. That's our visual interest, and the river's kind of back. The trees are bookending us and narrowing our vision into that back of the frame, and that's where our interest is at. Really beautiful day there. Another favorite spot is Empire Bluffs, out in just north of Frankfort, Michigan, in Empire, Michigan. Just a really great place. I love hiking that trail every year, kind of shooting this tree throughout the seasons, and this is just like early summer. When the leaves are fresh on the trees, and you got some nice spring buds and flowers occurring, or post spring, kind of the summer ones. But just the water up north past Ludington is it's just something else. This is in Iron Mountain, Michigan. This is a waterfall up there that I caught a couple years ago visiting Green Bay. Again, kind of using leading lines, using the wispiness of the water to lead us in. And if you follow it just right, you can follow it through the back of the image up into the back. There's another tier of the fall up there, just in the top left, kind of hanging out in the back. Again, we got rules of thirds. We got the top, the top 2 tiers of the fall up here in the top, and in the bottom 2, kind of our stronger visual interest. And just one of my favorite waterfalls up there while visiting. Just this I captured with my Olympus as well. And one of my all-time favorite shots, again, it goes back to your shooting at your time of day. This is the magic hour. I shot this just as the sun was setting. I'm getting these nice orange side lighting accents on the dune grass, and these nice clouds in the sky. It's always good to look for clouds in the sky when you're shooting landscapes. I've tried to repeat this shot, tried to recreate it. I haven't actually been able to kind of recreate this shot. So it's really good and important to go out and shoot away when this is happening, so you can kind of create that muscle memory on how to capture the best capture these moments. And you never know what a night is going to turn into. So after a storm, I always encourage people to be on the standby, because if you know that a storm is going to pass through and it's kind of breaking up, the sunsets after a storm are just spectacular. There's just nothing like it. And this was something where it was cloudy up to the minute, and I said in 5 minutes this thing's going to break loose and it's going to be beautiful. And this is right out of my Olympus camera, just using the sunset mode, and you can just see all these brilliant bright colors. I like to think of the sky as kind of raspberry sherbet. You got those nice deep pinks and purples and this brilliant orange kind of fireball near the horizon, and how the way it's just reflecting off the water, just one of my favorite shots. And these are getting into our submissions, and so I'm just going to pop back and see if you guys are saying anything. Love that waterfall Karen is talking about. I'm trying to figure out which one it is. It's either Rini Falls, Dead River Falls, or the last one just outside of Iron Mountain. So we'll get to your guys' photos here. This is Amanda Dykhouse. She submitted 2. I think this is Marquette, Michigan. I'm willing to guess because it looks like Sugarloaf Mountain. Or Sugarloaf Overlook up in Pierre Marquette, Michigan. If I'm wrong, let me know, but that's what I'm willing to bet it is. If it is Amanda, you and I were up there around the same time if this was taken last year, because we were out there on a cloudy day just like you were, and I'm willing to bet that you might have been there and we might have passed each other. So let me know if you were near or around there at that time, if you're tuning in. But I'm willing to bet that that's when you were there. Great shot. You got a landscape with that beautiful sky, puffy clouds. I would have waited maybe a little bit. I know it was difficult this day because I was shooting the same time, covering the sun just a little bit, because we don't have these really powerful patches of sunlight on the trees. I would have waited just to kind of have some of that, just a little bit more patchiness from the sun, like waiting for the cloud to move just to see what would transpire on the landscape. But you can see where it's really working, you know, over here, and it's really just this patchwork. That's how my friend described it when I was in Colorado. It's just like a quilted landscape with fall colors. And if you guys ever get out to Southwest Colorado, you can really see what that looks like with the aspen groves and just how everything out there in the falls is crazy. And you could still get back in time to shoot fall color here because that's normally late September, early October, where this is kind of mid-October for us. But I really love that shot. So again, I'm willing to bet Sugarloaf Mountain. And she's got this beautiful shot of a lake, inland pond, something like that. I would have bumped the exposure, and these might just be right out of the camera, so I'm not going to be too critical. This is something that if you wanted, if you're tuning in, I would love to do a quick edit of this just to see how we can kind of bump it and kind of brighten it up, just to kind of improve what we're seeing. But what I really love that you have going on, there's a lot of analogous colors happening here. There's a lot of blues, yellows, and greens from the lily pads in the foreground. I love that we've got a lot of the reflection off the top of the water. It's kind of almost creating the symmetrical thing, but we're breaking that divide in the middle with the trees in the horizon area. So really love what you've got going on there. Todd Merritt said could be Hogback Mountain, which Todd Merritt's was there around the same time we were. Hogback is, I think it's kind of a piggyback. It's like in the same vicinity, just kind of like kitty corner, and so it's something that is very close to that same area out there. This is Andrew Grossenbacher. So Andrew's got the next two. Really nice sunset. Now what he's doing is he's trying to frame something in the foreground and focusing on the background, just kind of utilizing the driftwood on the shoreline. I really like that concept. It's nice to have the clouds in the sky. I can tell you're really close to the tree because the tree is blurred. And some people would kind of ask the question, and I would like to see what it would look like to have maybe this in more focus with a higher aperture. So we're probably shooting this at maybe f8, and we're focusing on the horizon line in the background to get the sharpness back here or on the clouds. I would like to see focusing on this driftwood in the foreground would look like if we had a high enough aperture to kind of get everything in focus, to kind of see what kind of feeling that would exude from the photo. But I really love the colors that you've got. You're using the rule of thirds really well with the sky being in that top portion. The bottom 2/3 is going to be that negative, not the positive space, but kind of that foreground leading us into the background. And one of my favorites is your shot of Tequamanon Falls or Root Beer Falls. And really great long exposure. You're capturing that nicely with the wispiness of the falls. You're probably there around, I would say maybe spring or early summer, because there's a lot of green. There's not a lot of color happening, and just really great capture here of one of our biggest falls here in Michigan, Tequamanon. So thank you for sharing those, Andrew. And on to Ben Bukema. Ben's got this beautiful shot of the Grand Haven Pier. This is going to be a long exposure. We can tell it's a long exposure at a high aperture because we're getting these nice starbursts off of all of the lights, even the beacon light at the very top of the lighthouse. We got that nice starburst. This is probably set to greater than f22 or greater than f16. We're probably at a couple seconds of an exposure, maybe 5 or so seconds, because we've got, or maybe longer, maybe even 10 seconds. The water's really smooth, and you have this. I always like the addition of the human element. We've got a fisherman who's standing in spot. He stood there long enough to freeze his person in the frame, because you can see these two figures right here. These are two blurred figures that are walking the pier. We've got a little bit of a hint of one right here, and some more right here, as well as these guys right here. So that is something to kind of look for. That human element is always nice, and just a really great gradient from top to bottom. you know, we're starting to dip down back into the colors. Like if we went high enough in the sky, we'd have some of these blues that would start to echo on the top. And it's just this really nice gradient from this yellow into the red. And this is where clouds aren't as important in a photograph, because now we're more or less focusing on the gradient that we're creating with the shot versus having those clouds to help add some accents and complementing the photo. And Jason is saying, when in doubt, F16 out. And that is just right, and that will get you those nice starbursts on the lights. This is going to be from Brian Lynch. Brian Lynch has the next two, and he's got this nice shot of Holland State Park, Big Red in Holland, and this is going to be a wintry day. The lake isn't frozen yet, but there is a lot of kind of ice accumulating. It could be December. Those clouds kind of get low in the sky in the winter, and you always have like some, I think they're like cirrostratus or something like that way up there, the wispy ones. But you get those nice high atmosphere clouds that are kind of wispy, and then you get these lower thick ones from all the cold dense air, and it's always nice to kind of have that separation in the layer. You know, I would have liked to have seen, it's the tricky thing where you're waiting for that light to come on. There still might have been too much light out for the beacon light to come on, but that would have been like even a better accent to the photo, is adding that. But I like the reflection of the light here. It's kind of moody because it's almost silhouetted completely, where we're getting just a little bit of detail on the lighthouse and in the foreground here. But it's more or less getting kind of more about the moodiness and the silhouette, the semi-silhouettes in this photo. Nice leading lines, diagonal leading lines, leading us from the left to the, from the page left to and out to the right. He revisited the silver sides. I think we edited one of your photos last week, and we talked about making it black and white because it can make things appear timeless. And I love this shot of it being moored. And this is where black and white can come in very handy. Bright sunlight like we have today can play hell on your images in the sense of harsh shadows. Sometimes harsh shadows don't complement your photos very well. Well, in this case, this is the exception, because we've got a lot of the lights coming straight down on top of the submarine, where the shadows are falling. I'm trying to see where the shadows are falling. The reflection of the boat in the water here, shadows. It might even be like close to high noon. The light is over here because I got the shadow right in here. There's these nice clouds. We've got I know this is going to be like a week ago or something, because we've got we had the accumulation of moisture in the atmosphere heading west towards Grand Rapids, and as it was heading over the lake, building up and dropping back in Grand Rapids. But it's nice to kind of get the harsh light here. The reason why it's successful is because there's a lot of light bouncing off of the pier here, because it's a lighter shade of concrete and it's reflecting off of the water. So we're getting this nice fill light in on the port side, the starboard side of the silver sides, and just a really nice photo. Turning it black and white kind of eliminates any of the distraction, like if it wasn't as successful with color, because hey, the boat's gray, the sky's blue, the trees are green. If there's not a lot of interesting colors, we can really just change it to black and white and really kind of make it about the ship itself, and I really appreciate that. Now this is going to be from Karen Brendel. Karen's got the next three, and Karen's got this really great shot of body of water. I'm wondering if this is a guess, maybe like somewhere in Grand Haven, where there's just kind of that resting water towards the lakeshore, maybe on one of the opposing sides. I really love the clouds hanging over in the background, reflecting off of the water. That's a really nice moment. The foreground silhouetted, it becomes more or less about the clouds, and that's why the importance of clouds in your photos can really make or break a landscape. In this case, it's making the landscape, because if we just had plain blue sky and plain blue water, it wouldn't be as interesting. And I'm almost wondering if she used a circular polarizer with this. I don't think she was, but it's just, I'm looking at the quality of the reflection off the water, and there's the potential that maybe she did. I'm not sure. But that would be something that would kind of help even push the photo a little further, is reducing some of that reflection there. But I really like what you got going on. She's also got this shot of of a green of a blue crane over some of the marshy areas. Nice in flights. Would like to have seen it kind of coming towards the camera versus going away. But it's still a great moment captured in time. You're centering it in the frame. This would work really well as a square photograph, which we kind of talked about doing. And maybe that's something we'll do, is cropping to a square or shooting for a square for one of our photos, next photo challenges, because that can be tricky to shoot something with the intention of cropping it into a square. But it is creating a movement. You know, we've got this great shape of the bird, this nice kind of X figure, and nice movement from moving us, with the implied movement, with the head facing to the left of the frame. We want to follow the crane from the right to the left, so we are creating that kind of implied motion from the right to the left, moving us from entering to the right, moving to the left. So really good there. And this really beautiful shot of a hummingbird. I love the fuchsias. I love all the colors. Really doing a good job to attract these guys to your feeders. But the color makes this photo, because we've got so many reds and purples and fuchsias, that it just is. This is where color is very successful and really bombarding us with a lot. But the green kind of counters that. This is a really good example of complementary colors, because there is a lot of red, and the complementary color to red is green, so it creates a visual contrast between those two colors, and so it helps the hummingbird stand out against the background with all of this pink, red, and everything else that's going on. These are some good ones from Kayla McLaren. Kayla had a lot, so I picked your best three, Michaela. I really love this shot of I believe, Pictured Rocks in the UP. You just got these great layers. I love photos being built in layers, and this is a good example of an abstract where we've just got these nice layers of color in different textures, where we go from kind of these horizontal textures and kind of grittiness to, even though it's still rock face, we've got these vertical lines that kind of lead us down into the water with all these streaks of painted color. And then we hit the water surface where this nice little hint of greens, which complements some of the colors here in the rock face, because these are almost tints of red, even though they're brown. Green and red, again, are complementary colors, so these are really bouncing off of each other and complementing each other. And then you just got these really nice blues that are also kind of bouncing and reverberating some of these blue tones in the vertical portion of the rock face. So really good on that. This is kind of the same idea, very abstract, just looking at the clouds and the shape of the clouds. What are we looking at? Looking for shape, our mind's trying to figure out what it is. I mean, we know it's the clouds with the setting sun or the rising sun, but it becomes more about the color and the shape of the clouds than anything else. So I really like this one here. And I did two more, because this was something that I thought was really important with time of day. So Kayla shot the Mackinac Bridge, and she's got this shot, earlier in the day or a different time of day where it's very overcast. As you can see, we got the nice layers. We got the layer of the clouds with the Mackinac Bridge, the water and the beach, and then kind of the gravel and the beach and the sand of the beach right there in the foreground. But what's really important is to see the difference in time of day. If she shot this earlier and came back and waited for the setting sun or the rising sun, I mean, look at the difference of these two feelings that these photographs have. And this is why I think the importance of time of day is critical when you shoot, because the images will have two different feelings. And you look at this compared to this, which one is more successful and why? And even though this is a great composition and there's a lot going on in it and that's working for it, this is just so much more dramatic and so much more powerful than the previous image. And that's not to say that either of them are right or wrong. This is the one that I gravitate more towards. We've got this nice silhouetted bridge. We've got this nice magic hour lights, and it's reverberating off and bouncing off of the reflection of the water here, and just some nice subtle shapes where the waves were crashing. So time of day can make or break a photograph, and I really want to say, Kayla, thank you for submitting those so that we had some good examples to go off of. Keegan Williamson sent two, and hopefully I got these right between the two. This one was from his cell phone, kind of messing around with the with this gradient of color with the rainbow here in the background, and could be Lake Harbor Park or another trail somewhere in one of the great state parks here in West Michigan or in Michigan in general. I just thought it was a cool photo that he took with his cell phone and edited with the colors of the treetops. And this really great one of Muskegon with the setting sun, the sun just having passed below the horizon, really splitting the two hemispheres equally between the sky and the bottom portion with the water. And this is what I talked about, the decisive moment earlier, guys, with like the lighthouse in the right and the boat on the left. Those are really kind of taking up the 2/3. So if we kind of divide the image into 3 chunks, the lighthouse is dividing the right third, the lighthouse to the boat are the center, and from the boat to the left side of the frame we have those 3 vertical chunks of the rule of 3, of the composition with the rule of thirds kind of there in the photograph. Moving along to Kimberly Norman, who has one. She took this really beautiful shot, maternity shot, up north. Going to be close to Empire Bluffs, I would say. Probably just on one of the beaches south of Empire Bluffs. Just really beautiful light. Probably getting into early evening because we've got some nice glow. Blues are, that's like the September birthstone. It could be, it's green, so June or July. Could be August if the colors were right. I'm just trying to guess, but I like the quality of light and the use of depth of field. We still got enough depth of field, some sharpness back here. Not as successful if we kind of zoomed in. So it's good to have the atmosphere and the environment with this photo, and she's nicely centered. So good job there. This is from Lillian Doltzoff. She's like, she doesn't know if this counts, but she's got this. I really like this when I saw this on Instagram when she shared this for the first time, and I was really upset that I didn't think of this. And she just really captured, kind of the 3 seasons. If you may, sometimes we miss the 4th season. Like, is it spring right into summer, or summer right into fall? And she's just got these great 3 seasons of PJ Hoffmaster, the earlier parking area where you've got the little kind of boardwalk going down to the beach. Nice leading lines with the fencing leading us down to the water, and a nice use of timing, right? We didn't necessarily say timing had to be in the morning, like we're saying morning or evening, but this is timing kind of looking and studying things throughout the year. And so it's a great study on how places change over time, and really focusing on the detail, being able to try to frame this up in a similar position without having like permanently set your tripod markers in the ground at your, where you're trying to shoot. Jason was saying it looked like Ottawa Sands. That's what I was thinking of, that one shot way back when. But Karen was also saying Muskegon Whitehall area, Muskrat Lake is where it could be. So that is a good possibility as well. But again, going back to Lillian stuff, really glad that you shared, Lillian. You create some good work, and I think you should participate more. You've got a lot to share with everyone here, so I would encourage you to do that. So thank you for sharing. Getting back into things here, we've got Lindsay Rodowsky, who I haven't seen in a little while. Say hello to Jim if you guys are tuning in. But she's got this nice shot, possibly from a cell phone. I'd have to see. I didn't look. The ratio is right for a cell phone. But what's really nice about this is that she's using the frame within a frame. She's using the top of the tree to kind of frame us into the image. We've got clouds for our landscape, which is good because it's more interesting than just having a plain blue sky. And we've got that nice park bench in the foreground, and that helps add a little bit of a story to the image, where it's almost inviting you to sit down and like take a second and look at the bridge and observe this beauty here. And that's kind of the feeling that I get with looking at this. So thank you for sharing, Lindsay. Moving along, we've got Mike B. I didn't catch your last name, Mike B. He's got these shots probably from a cell phone. Looks like a beach somewhere, maybe Sleeping Bear sand dunes or something. There's a lot of cars with trailers, so I'm assuming people got dune buggies and stuff out, or at a racetrack. catching the setting sun before a midnight race or something like that. Very nice there. And got some fireworks on the raceway as well. This is with his Moto G7, so it is with a cell phone. And great shots of some fireworks going off, kind of capturing the story of maybe it's 4th of July, maybe it's Memorial Day, or just kind of the pomp and circumstance before a race. And just some more fireworks here from him. So thanks, Mike B, for sharing with us. And this is Ryan Christensen, getting to Ryan stuff. Really nice use of that kind of the frame within a frame, where he's utilizing the tunnel and the shape of that what we call the keystone effect, or the vanishing point. That those diagonal lines of the vanishing point are leading us through to the background. Nice use of layering and space, where we've got the his focus is going to be on these rocks here, and you can tell, like, when we zoom in, those are fairly sharp. That's where our focus is somewhere in this area. There's a little bit of blurriness here, and that's going to naturally occur because we're trying to focus a third of the way into the frame. Ryan, I'm wondering, I think you shot this at like f/16. I'm wondering if you would have focused on the back of this rock here, this rock right here in the foreground, shooting at the high enough aperture. If you were at f/16, the rest of it would have fallen in line as a result. But he's using the proper practice of trying to find that hyperfocal point, where they typically say a third of the way into the frame. If you get your focus just right, you're going to get sharpness from foreground to background. Now, Ryan might not have intended to have that rock sharp in focus. I always kind of like to see what the alternative is, just to play devil's advocate, to see what the difference would be if it was sharp in focus or not. The nice thing is when you do this intentionally, is that you're creating visual space and depth through using depth of field. So having that foreground stuff just a little bit blurry, and then having the sharpness go into the background, that forces our eyes to kind of follow the blurriness. Like, if it's blurred, we're not going to look at it and focus on it as much as the next thing that's sharp in focus. And that's kind of the important thing about these rocks here. This collection of rocks is much more interesting than looking at this big rock right here. And that could also be something that why he took that course of action with creating this imagery. So really great, Ryan. I really like the green here in the background, and how it's kind of it's just kind of complementing this little leaf right here, this little elm leaf that's kind of stuck on these rocks, really bouncing off, and you got this little bit of glow from the reflection here in the water, and it really just kind of plays off of that little piece of green in the foreground. And that's what makes it so nice to kind of hop back into. It's like there's these little gradations of green leading us into the background. And there was an overarching theme with your work, is there was a lot of green. So you've got this time lapse. I think maybe you captured with your Olympus using the live comp mode, and this beacon here, the 3A. I think this is going to be Muskegon Channel, looking north towards the state park. I could be wrong. It could still be Grand Haven Channel, but I think that was on the South Pier head in the channel. That the buoy was up. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I liked how you got green here and you've got green here, and I really felt like this overarching theme of green with your stuff. But I have tried to do this myself, where if I'm creating a star trail, I don't really like to see the entire star trail. Ryan has done a really good job of just kind of cutting out everything south of the North Star, just below the North Star, and really making about this half circle kind of shape. And I like that people create like quarter circle shapes, where he could also have done something similar to this, where we saw we can see the rest of this photo and just kind of quartering the image here, which would have been nice. And I just really like what you've created there. Let's see, we've got Tara Foreman. She's got this really cool shot. We talked about the decisive moment and freezing something just at the right point in time. And this is like something that that the decisive moment can capture, is this visual tension, right? We've got someone who's running and jumping off of the dunes here, North Muskegon State Park, or Muskegon State Park on the north side of the channel there, just outside the beach house, I'm more than willing to assume. And someone running and jumping off the dunes into the sand just below. This is going to be in the evening, probably around 7 o'clock, where the light's just not warm enough yet, but we've got these nice deep blues, nice greens, nice kind of warmth from the sun, warming up the sand just a little bit, but not to the point of like the orange that we'd get, you know, much later. But the decisive moment just kind of capturing this action frozen in air and is creating this visual tension of like you want the person to land. And that's kind of the nice thing, is being able to tell that story and your brain kind of completing these puzzles that they're kind of throwing up in the image. These are from Tim Hanko. Tim's got this really great shot of Grand Haven South Pier. And you've got, again, probably shooting at f/22 or higher than f/16 to get these nice radial starbursts from the LED lights, and the nicely timed shot of having the full moon setting in the background and creating this nice atmosphere that we get to exist in with Grand Haven's Big Red. And one of my favorites, this is also Tim Hanko's, is this really, really moody but well-lit shot of Big Sable Point Light in Ludington, Michigan. Storm is passing through. I'm wondering if you took this last week when we had those storms roll through. I'm trying to remember what day it was, maybe like Wednesday or something. And there was just that patch area between the north and the south that was just opened up long enough that kind of as it came close to the shore, it got bigger and bigger, and it really allowed a pocket of nice light to come in. And if you were in the right place, which you were, you got this beautiful, nice side light on the magic hour light, you know, casting its rays on the lighthouse. I love that this part of the dune is cast in sun, and this is in shadow, but we got some highlights here. You got rain in the background, these nice moody clouds with these nice highlights. Overall, a really ideal image. You got this nice kind of path where the sand is coming in, like where you're coming in, leading into the image, kind of like this. And just really like what you got going on there. And this is from Wayne Bergman. Wayne Bergman was maybe flying oh no, he wasn't flying a drone. He was at Frankfort, Michigan. This is Frankfort, Michigan. I can tell by the lighthouse here. And he's up on either at the parking lot, or there's a place just down the road where you can, I know he likes to paraglide. And there's a high enough point where you can kind of jump off and do that. But he's probably got his Nikon camera out there. He's got this great shelf cloud coming in. It's nice to have this nice little highlight of the sun in the background, kind of, you know, kind of separating the fronts and from the sunset. But just really beautiful shape through here with the shelf cloud. Nice little highlight off the water. Nice kind of shape moving us from right to left and around towards the back of the image back here. So good job, Wayne. Really appreciate that. Really dramatic photo. And that's it, guys. I mean, that's it to the end. If I missed you guys, I really do apologize for if I missed anyone's work. You know, that was that's something that's on me if I missed it. But I really appreciate you guys sharing. I hope you guys enjoy what we do with these live broadcasts and you know, these Facebook photo challenges. We're going to go to every 2 weeks is what I've decided. So we will kind of post something on a Monday, and then from a Monday, you know, we'll give you guys 2 weeks to work on something and go out and create and bring your challenge to fruition. And then on the following Monday, we'll kind of recap the images that you created, and we'll kind of we'll release the next challenge as well on what we want you to capture for the next one. So thanks guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoy your evenings. It is a very beautiful day. I know there's a lot of bright light. I don't think there's going to be any clouds for a sunset. There might be towards the there's going to be some towards the very, very end, but I think it's going to be a very beautiful sunset. We're kind of in that kind of a cold front that we would have during the fall. So I'm willing to bet that tonight's sunset's going to be pretty good. I'm going to rank it as an 8. If I'm correct, you know, I want to see your guys' images to prove it. I just have a good feeling that it's going to be a nice, kind of cool, brisk sunset, but the colors are going to be good and the clouds are going to be right. And you might want to be there an hour before the sunset, because I think you're going to get some nice the nice kind of like that Dudegrass shot that I have. I think you could get some good shots with that. The wind's blowing just nice. You might kind of get some wispiness down there and kind of create some nice nice movement. But I got some thanks for Bill saying, I sure enjoy these, Justin. You're welcome, Bill. It's my pleasure to help hold these guys. And you guys make it happen. It's your participation that allows you guys to continue to do this. I would encourage all of you guys to continue to create beautiful work. Karen is saying thank you as well. And Jason is saying, Asto. I don't know if you're saying goodbye. Hasta la vista. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And go out and shoot. Be creative. Again, I'm going to work on the next challenge for you guys. Try to create something maybe new and fresh. Something I've kind of teased and flirted with is be interesting to see you guys kind of take a shot that you've already done, that you've used for one of these Facebook photo challenges, and see if you can shoot it better. Like, okay, here's my previous shot, and here's me redoing it at a different time of day or trying to do it better. I think that would be so much fun to kind of show kind of the before and after of like, here's where I started when I started paying attention to these photo challenges and started to work on them, and here I am now trying to go out and make take a second stab or second effort at a shot. So I will kind of flirt with that idea, guys, and let you guys know what I plan on doing. But we're in it for an hour. I'm going to get home. I'm going to make some dinner, enjoy my evening, and I hope that you guys do the same. And if you guys need anything, I'm here at the Camera Shop Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And for those of you who are paying attention, Olympus came out with some awesome news. They have an EM10 Mark IV that they announced, and they've also announced a 100 to 400 telephoto lens. We've got some on pre-order. If you want to get one of yours, it's going to be $14.99, a great price to be able to get a 200 to 800 millimeter equivalent out of your Olympus camera. Great for wildlife and landscape photography. So outside of that, a shameless plug for Olympus. That's just some big news that we had today that we'll be talking about later this week. Sony also launched their A7S III, which is a big deal, so we're really looking forward to that. So those are kind of big in the camera announcements, and Canon's got their R5 and R6 coming out. So some big things happening here late summer. But again, that's it for me, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you guys soon, and be safe, have fun, and never stop being creative, guys. Appreciate you tuning in.